saying who's the best team in East Midlands, and Leicester want to prove that tonight by beating Nottingham Forest.
Because I assume you feel that from the crowd, and as players you can feed off that.
Yeah, exactly. The fans should be behind their players today. Local derby, you want to get behind your team, give the fans something to go home with as well. Try and get a positive result, and then everyone in the club seems positive. Then you can build that momentum. Get the first win and carry on. Like you said, the next games coming up are all winnable. So this is a great start where we can get 3 points and try and move on to the next week and the week after that.
And obviously you've played in plenty derbies during your career, scored in a few for the Foxes as well. It's always a little bit extra. It's always nice, isn't it, when it's a derby game, as long as you get the 3 points, as long as you get the victory.
Exactly, Dan. I mean, you don't get any more points than the 3 for winning a derby. It's the same's at stake. I think they're massive for the fans, obviously, and I think as players and ex-players, I think you can look back and they were exciting games. You look forward to them. I mean, you couldn't really enjoy them until you knew you had the result and you could go out and celebrate and have a few drinks after. I mean, I don't know why, but they were quite lucky for myself. I mean, I scored a hat-trick against Derby for Leicester. I scored a hat-trick for Wolves against West Brom. I scored a couple for Norwich down at Portman Road. So they brought the best out of me, really. But they are, I mean, they're second to none. It's the first fixtures when the fixture list comes out in mid-June that the supporters look for. That they look for when you play your local rivals, the old enemy, if you like. And I'm sure after what happened in the FA Cup last season up at the City Ground, I think Leicester fans will be really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, you have a very good record in derby games. How about you during your career? Was it similar? Were they good records?
I've scored a few goals against Forest in my time when I was at Leicester. There's no better feeling scoring a local derby. You send the fans home with the bragging rights. You go home with the match ball if you score a hat like you did. So the games you look forward to. It's exciting for the fans to come to a local derby. They want the bragging rights, and if they win that, we can go home all happy and enjoy a few beers tonight.
I guess it may be slightly different in this day and age, Ewan, with social media. That's how maybe fans can vent their frustrations or say what they want to the players somewhat. But maybe in your career, was it more just in and around the city in the build up to a derby game? Is the buzz different? Are the fans a little bit different?
It's the difference, right, between going down your local supermarket with your head held high, or if you've lost, you're hiding behind the aisles, you're making sure there's no supporters wanting to talk. Because I hated the build-up. I hated the week leading up to a derby, because that's all people want to talk to you about. The game coming up, the importance of that game, a must-win game. I mean, some fans, they would tell you they wouldn't mind getting relegated as long as they beat Forest, as long as they beat Derby or whoever the Derby is, which is ridiculous, really. But yeah, I mean, they're great games. They are great games to play. And I remember the playoff final, I think it was 93-94, when we played Derby at Wembley and Walshy scored 2 goals. I mean, that's one of the biggest games I've ever been involved in. And as a local derby, that game didn't get any bigger. Derby County in the final of the playoff, winner takes all. The winner goes to the Premier League. The losers stay in the Championship. How about that for the derby? Man, that's the biggest one I've ever played in.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big one, of course, this evening at King Power Stadium, maybe at the wrong end of the Premier League. Leicester find themselves there after a disappointing start to the season, which culminated before the end of the international break with that defeat in North London against Tottenham Hotspur.
Of the roar that normally greets the two teams. An evening of reflection in North London ahead as Leicester City take on Tottenham. The Premier League returns as Leicester City and Tottenham Hotspur pay their respects to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Here comes Tielemans, right-footed, he does go the same way, but this time he scores! How about that for guts from Yuri Tielemans? It back from Perisic, and then tries to go beyond Keane and Dewsbury Hall. That's a very good cross in, and there is Harry Kane at the far post, and he scored his 20th goal against Leicester City. And they're not going to go short now, Tottenham. Comes in towards the near post, and it's flicked on and in. And it's Eric Dyer. And from 1-0 up, Leicester are 2-1 down. Raking crossfield pass, looking for Castagna. We know he's good in the air, and he's got there ahead of Sessegnon, and he's crossed into Maddison. Oh, what a goal! James Maddison on the half volley. That is very, very special from Leicester's number 10. Tottenham are pushing and pressing. Oh, and Bentancur's robbed the ball off of Ndidi. He runs to the edge of the box and he scores off the post. And Bentancur has fired Spurs into an early lead in the second half. He's released Son, and it's Højbjerg up with him, and Son runs it fast, and Son goes for goal and scores magnificently. Well, that's almost taken the roof off this stadium. That's a fine pass to Kane. Kane's picking up some positions now. Shifts it to his right-hand side, and Son on that left foot. Oh my word! It's another beauty from Son. One on his right, one on his left. And it's Højbjerg, and he flips it for Son, and Son's in on goal, and Son makes it a hat-trick, and Tottenham have a sixth.
Yeah, it was a disappointing evening in North London a couple of weeks ago. Ewan Roberts, wasn't it? But actually, Leicester, we were just saying then off air, they weren't actually that bad. They played quite well. They scored 2 goals. The game obviously just got away from them towards the end of that second half.
I think the first half, Dan, I think Leicester probably shaded it, probably were the better side. Just the same old story, the thing that we keep repeating ourselves over the first couple of months of this Premier League, just defensive frailties, a lack of communication, lack of organisation. Another goal conceded from a set piece. You know, Son's hat trick. To be fair, I mean it was a wonderful hat trick. It really, really was. And sometimes you've just got to admire a player, you know, that scores that type of goal. But you know, the goal that the lads conceded just after half time, I mean, it's kamikaze. It really, really is. And there were so many good things attacking-wise that came out of that game. You know, on reflection, it wasn't a 6-2 game, in my opinion, that performance. But, I mean, we've spoken about it so many times. You know, you can't keep on conceding the goals that Leicester are. I think they've got an unwanted record of, I think they've conceded more goals in the opening 7 games in the Premier League than any other team. You know, that has to be addressed, and it's as simple as that. I mean, 22 goals in 7 games. You know, you're averaging 3.1 goals a game. If you're going to do that, then it's going to be the toughest of seasons.
We usually have either Jerry, Matt, or sometimes Walshy on as defenders to talk to about this. We've got 2 forwards to ask, but it obviously has been a bit of an issue this season, hasn't it? 22 goals, as Ewan has just said there, conceded in 7 Premier League games. Yeah,
it's not good enough. You know, defensively we've got to do better. You know, individual mistakes by defenders, no communication between players tends to lead to mistakes. You know, Ndidi's one at the end there where he's played the ball short. So, all he needs is a man on, and he can give it back to the defender. He tried to turn, get intercepted, concede a goal. You know, but as we said off air again, scoring 2 goals away at Tottenham, Arsenal and Brighton, but we concede 4, 5, 6 goals. You know, that's got to stop. Set plays again has been a problem, so if we shore up on that, let the players get a bit of confidence in this game. You know, try and go out there, get the fans on your side and push on from there, and then we could see a different Leicester, because the players are there. You know, we've got the squad to like put a performance in, but it's just that confidence might be lacking. Just need someone just to grab the game by the horns and do something, get that early goal, and you know, press on from there.
That must be the key word, I think, confidence, isn't it? As you were saying, with that indeed a mistake towards the end of the game, a simple man on, as you say. If you're winning games, they probably come those calls, do they? Is it just a case of just getting that confidence, getting that togetherness back again? Yeah, sometimes players don't want the ball when your confidence is low. You know, you want to give it to someone else. You know, make them do the player make the mistake. You know, but the players that we got, players at Leicester here, shouldn't be doing that. They should be, you know, taking responsibility. You know, giving the ball, giving them information when to receive it, and telling them what to do. You know, they've all got quality in the game. You know, so we know we can do it. You just got to see it on the pitch and try and perform to the best abilities. Speaking of quality, Ewan Roberts, that James Maddison goal was pure class, wasn't it? Really good play from Castagna on the right, and the finish is fantastic, and it sums up the start to the season that he's had.
It's been magnificent, but once again, and I think it leaves us all scratching our heads. He was left out of Gareth Southgate's England squad. I mean, it does beg a belief. It's a fantastic finish. It's what we've come to expect from James Maddison. You know, he's a scorer of great goals. What's that? His third in 6 appearances this season. The Premier League is 7th in 11. I mean, he's absolutely outstanding. You know, he's getting himself forward. He's timing his runs into the opposition's penalty box superbly. But then he's got the skill. He's got the composure. And it's an absolutely magnificent. He's under pressure. It's a magnificent finish. There's only one place he can really put it, and to beat a goalkeeper of Lloris's quality with that type of finish. And you know, he's in the last 12-18 months, he's been absolutely magnificent, Dan.
Yeah, it's funny that we've been talking about confidence, David, because James Maddison clearly is playing full of confidence, as Ewan's referenced. You look at the stats at the start of this season, he's an incredibly influential player for Leicester City. He's
the one player that everyone's going to be looking forward to tonight to make the difference. You know, he's the one scoring the goals, he's the one creating the chances. He needs to link that partnership with Vards again tonight, you know, get that back rolling. And as you say, you know, when he gets half turn on the ball, you know, he can shoot from 30 yards, he can run past people, he can slide people in, you know, set plays, everything. You know, he's got everything in the locker, and he's the one who we'll all be looking out for to, you know, try and get the 3 points and win the game for Leicester today.
Hopefully so. Another one of those creative midfield players is, of course, Leicester lad Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. He's been speaking about facing Nottingham Forest for the first time in the Premier League in his career and how big a derby it is.
First Premier League meeting in 23 years.
Is it?
So played each other obviously in the FA Cup last season, you know, played each other since, but in the top flight, 23 years. So can you tell fans why this game will mean so much to you?
Well, I was only just born then when the previous fixture happened, so in my lifetime in the Premier League I've never known it to happen. So as a young lad growing up in Leicestershire, I know how important it is, this derby, to the fans, and so I've just grew up in that environment, and we've never, as you said, been able to experience it in the top flight, which is a special feeling. So look, this is a game where you can create a bit of history, you can create a bit of folklore in the football club, and that's what you crave for as a footballer. You want to have your name etched in history. So it's a massive game, everybody knows that, and it's going to be fiery because there's going to be heart on the sleeve moments. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm chomping at the bit to get going.
Then you'll be promoted, you're at home, so what do you want to show?
Without being disrespectful, I want to show just elite level. I want to show this is a top level. It's coming up to this level, and it's a big jump up, and we know we've got the players to do that. We've got really good squad, and we need to show that now. And we want to just from minute one be on the front foot, not a minute's rest for the opposition team, and for them to think, wow, yeah, we're in for a tough game today, and hopefully that's going to contribute to us getting the 3 points, which obviously at the moment is the most important thing.
Yeah, massive it would be, wouldn't it? Because 1 point from 7 games. Last game was against Spurs, which, you know, you were in for large periods, but ultimately the confidence, I guess, took another dent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it did. As you can imagine, confidence at the moment is quite low within the group, but it's about trying to build that back up now. And one of them ways was looking at the game in Spurs, and there were a lot of positives in that game. As you said, for large parts of the game, I feel like we were the better team, and switching off at vital moments in the game at the top level, you get punished, and you saw that when Son came on, he punished us with some moments of brilliance. So it's about just finding what you've done well, and really rectifying what you're doing wrong, and identifying it, and trying to stop it happening again, because you want to be relentless on the ball, but then you want to be hard to play against when you're off the ball, and you don't want to be easy to play against, and that's what we're trying to find a balance with now.
So over the international break, was it team bonding exercises, things like that, bringing the group together, or was it just hard yards on the training ground?
A bit of both, really. A balance, of course. We've been working really hard. We know that's a given at this point. We're working a lot of hours on the training pitch behind that people wouldn't see in all aspects of the game. But then it's also about just, yeah, we've been out for a meal or two with the team just to keep morale high. And look, we're a great bunch of lads. We all like each other off the pitch. We'll get along. So it's just about implementing that on the pitch and having that relationship on the pitch, which we know can happen. And when we get that rub of the green, I feel like we can go on a good run.
That was Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, of course, there speaking ahead of this game against Nottingham Forest. Just heard, obviously, the tail end of that. He's talking about the rub of the green, getting that run going. Sometimes that's all you need to break a mini cycle that Leicester are clearly in.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? When you're in that rut, of losing games, it just tends to roll over. But you just need that one occasion where someone can light her up on the pitch, like a Kiernan Dewsbury or like a James Madison. You can just do that little bit of magic to get you going. All it needs is one little bit of magic for a goal, tackle. Just want to get the crowd going. And when they're behind you and you get that first goal, the momentum comes with you. Then you can just usually go on a roll and then carry on from there. But he'll be feeling the pain as well. He's a local lad. He's Leicester through and through, and he'll be feeling the pain of the fans as well because he's one of them as well.
Do you think that the international break came at a good time, Ewan, for Leicester? They can almost put that behind them, whatever's happened so far this season, and sort of reset?
I think there's two ways of looking at it, Dan. I think sometimes when you've suffered a defeat like that, you want to get out there as soon as you can and make right the wrongs that have happened in that 90 minutes. But I do think the run that Leicester are in, I think it was a good time for the international break for Leicester City. Some players would have gone away with their different nations and played a couple of Nations League games. The others would have been training at the club. They just got to regroup now. And I like what I heard from Dewsbury Hall there, saying that the group that have been left at Leicester have gone out. They've enjoyed a couple of meals together. Because I think one thing that Leicester City have been renowned for over the past few years is great togetherness, a good team spirit, and they're going to need all those things to get out of the trouble that they're in. And it all starts tonight. I think forget what's happened in the past in the first 7 games. There's nothing you can do about that. You can learn from the mistakes that have been made, and there have been a few. Let's be honest. But there's been some good things. We talk about goals conceded. Let's talk about goals scored. Leicester are the highest scorers in the bottom half of the Premier League. They've scored one less than Manchester United. They've scored the same amount of goals as Chelsea. There's just one weakness at the minute in this team, and that's the defensive side of Leicester. And I'm not just talking about the goalkeeper and the back four or the back five, whichever formation Brendan chooses. It's a collective thing, and that's the only way that you're going to make things right. It's not individuals. It's a collective thing, and let's hope we see this tonight.
Speaking of defensive issues, that there was a debut, of course, in that Spurs game for Wout Faes. Obviously, Leicester conceded 6 goals. You look at that as a defender on debut as disappointing, but actually, he looked promising, didn't he? In central defence, Wout Faes, the new signing. Yeah,
he looks calm on the ball. He's a big lad. He wins his headers. It's just unfortunate that you can see 6 goals and it just looks bad on the defenders, doesn't it? Really, you can see him there running out of defence, playing 1-2s with midfielders, playing at the centre half, playing a striker through 1-on-1. You don't really see that, do you? So, if you can do that tonight, winning his tackles, stepping in with the ball, getting the players up the pitch a bit further, and I think he can be a big positive for the club, because he's looking for the balls in behind for the strikers. You don't see many centre halves doing them balls, playing, as I said, putting Kelechi through 1-on-1 there, but no, it was a promising performance. It's just bad that we can see the 6 goals, which takes a shine off a little bit.
Yeah, I think that clips like that were the kind of clips that Leicester fans were looking at when they signed Wout Faes. The hard tackles, they're bringing the ball out of defence, and he certainly looks like he's a really good buy.
He does. Obviously there wasn't that many transfers coming in, in the summer, but he was the only one, and it was a positive performance. But as you said, when you can see 6 goals, it takes a shine off it, and he'll want to do better tonight. You want to see him winning the tackles in the local derby, winning his headers, playing balls into midfield, following his run like you've seen before, putting plays through 1-on-1. And if you can do that tonight, I'm sure that he'll be a fan's favourite, and we can get behind the team and hopefully push on.
Yeah, hopefully keep a clean sheet as well this evening here against Nottingham Forest. Create some more great memories against Forest. Speaking of memories against the Reds, let's take a look back at some classic goals in this fixture.
Lawrence takes it, it's not a good one. Roberts gets it back though. Lawrence turns it in again, the header comes in. Oh, tremendous goal! A lovely little Lawrence, and Lowe with a magnificent header to temper the disappointment. Someone on! Mark Draper suddenly puts Leicester right back in the game. Goodness me, it's all happening here at Filbert Street.
Away from Rodgers' throw as far as Stewart tries one. Ward, right! The 18-year-old has put Leicester in front at home against Nottingham Forest. Stewart's crack. Ward did well to even get there. Right, first to react.
Beautifully done. Testing cross as well, and cleared up the line. I think there was more than he got a foot to it. Back in from Oakley. Brilliant equaliser! And now it's joy at the Leicester end of the City ground.
Here though is Beckford for a third goal tonight, which he's got. 2 for Beckford, 3 for Leicester.
What a finish. This is sheer quality.
Forward, he's got Wood next to him. Anthony Kanoko finds Wood. Wood should score. Wood West Kanoko. Yes! Yeah! Anthony Kanoko has done it. Nottingham have been painted blue.
Some great memories there, particularly for David Nugent. Looking back at that last one, no David Nugent goals in there, unfortunately though. But yeah, just asked you that. I thought we were maybe going to be half involved in that goal, but I'll let you tell the story of it.
I scored a lob against Forest in the league game. Anthony Knockout was put it over the top and managed to flick it over the keeper with the outside of the foot. Probably my best goal against Forest, to be honest with you, but couldn't get it in there, could we? You know what I mean?
That goal in particular, you could have been the hero, but you were at the other end of the pitch.
Yeah, well, I think that game was 2-2,
yeah.
And whoever won that game basically got into the playoffs. So they've basically thrown everyone forward, trying to get the goal to win the tie, and then we've basically broke on the other end. About 5 of our players just broke on just in the 18-yard box, like flagging behind, and we managed to score on the break and get into the playoffs, which didn't end too good against Watford, as we all know.
But the rest of the history is good. I suppose the adrenaline must have hit though. You would have been in those celebrations a few seconds after that cuts off.
Yeah, well, before the game, that was my first game in about 10 starts. So Nigel brought me back in for the game because it was a local derby. Thought I'll be good for it, and I played the whole 90 minutes. I was flagging by the end of it, so I made it in the end. But the celebrations at the end were class as well because we knew we were in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. I think that would have been a great celebration, a great memory, you and anyway. But being a derby, being pretty much a winner takes all at that stage of the season, I think if you ask any Leicester fans, particularly of that sort of generation, this generation, they always remember that Anthony knockout goal.
Certainly do. I mean, just what it meant for the football club at the time. I mean, any goal in a derby, I mean, it's a special moment for the individual. It's a special moment for the fans. You make yourself an instant hero overnight. You can sort of write your name into history, if you like, and let's hope that someone steps up and does that tonight in a blue shirt.
Because they will go down in history, Ewan, won't they? If Leicester get a dramatic winner potentially this evening from whoever it might be, the likes of James Maddison, Jamie Vardy, obviously he's already a hero, but everyone will always look back as well as everything that he's done. They'll say, oh, do you remember that Forest goal as well?
And you know what that could mean, not just winning tonight, but bringing an end to a really poor run and hopefully kick-starting the season. I think that's the most important thing for me, Dan, before this game. If they can put this poor run to bed and start their season and start climbing the Premier League table, because I don't want to say that Leicester City are too good to go down, because many teams have said that over the years and they've ended up getting relegated. But if you look at that starting 11, I mean they've got some absolute quality in that starting 11. Yeah. Leicester shouldn't be in the position that they're in, but they've got to have the belief collectively as a unit, but not just the players, the fans as well. And it's a time for people to stick together, get behind the team. But the lads have got to produce. It's that simple. The lads have got to produce on the field, and it starts tonight against Nottingham Forest. And I can't think of a better game for Brendan and the players to kickstart their season.
Yeah, how much does that help, do you think, David? There's sometimes almost a team talk maybe can go out the window in a derby. That doesn't matter. The players will be right up for this evening.
Yeah, you don't need a team talk for a local derby. It's bragging rights. The players want to go out there, put a performance on for the fans and send them home happy. I think this is Leicester's best starting lineup. Maybe with Ricardo coming back in for Castagne, but at the other 10, I think they're nailed on best 10 players that they've got at the club at the minute. So I think he's picked the strongest side, and hopefully them players can go out there and put a show on tonight and get them bragging rights, as we say.
Yeah, it's an interesting point actually that you make about the team. There's obviously, as we've already spoken about, quality in there. There's goals in there. It seems like a good balanced mix.
Yeah. I think if you ask the fans as well, I think this will be their first choice 11, bar Ricardo if he was fit. But it's up to the players now to go out there. I'm not really bothered about the performance tonight. I just want to win. It's all about the 3 points, and as Ewan said, getting out this rut and getting that first win and kick-starting the season.
A scrappy 1-0 will do.
Not
A dramatic 3-2 victory. Right, let's move on from Leicester and concentrate on Nottingham Forest for a moment and hear from their manager Steve Cooper and Matt Davis from Nottinghamshire Live.
Just 30 miles away at the City Ground, after their 23-year wait to see Premier League football again, Forest fans would have been delighted with the start they made. After a win and a draw in their opening 3, they've since lost 4 in a row in the league, including 2 bitterly disappointing 3-2 defeats against fellow newly promoted sides Fulham and Bournemouth.
It's been probably a mix of some disappointment, some real pleasing bits, like I said, of some bits that maybe are not seen in terms of here around the training ground, and even parts of performances have been good as well. But for sure, and obviously let's not forget the excitement for the club of getting back to the Premier League, and I think where we were 12 months ago to where we are now, it's been a massive period of progress, and I don't think we should, and I don't think anyone is losing sight of that. But the Premier League is tough. Obviously, it's exciting and it's brilliant to be part of it. But it's game by game. It's a real ruthless, tough environment that you're in. But we wanted this. We wanted to be part of it, and we after a disappointing couple of weeks before the break, we were really determined to progress. And how do you progress? First and foremost is picking up more points than what we have done. We can't lose sight of the fact that, like I said, them games going into the break, the losses, and particularly the last 2 were not good. But it's now become part of the challenge of what was going to be a tough season, and we've got to work really hard now to put things right.
There's been good stuff from Forest, and there's been times when you think, oh yeah, this is going to be a really promising season. Think back to West Ham at home and Spurs at home, and they've looked good, and Everton away where they looked solid. Obviously Man City was difficult, losing 6-0, but that's difficult for anyone to go there. And the last 2 games have been concerning in terms of the naivety they've shown defensively and the goals they've let in quick succession, that kind of mental fragility. And it feels quite inevitable, having signed 22 players. There isn't that collective experience of being in the trenches together when chips are down, and you've seen that.
The 22 signings referenced there included reinforcements across every area of the pitch for the Reds. These included midfielder Morgan Gibbs-White from Wolves, Emmanuel Dennis from Watford, goalkeeper Dean Henderson, and perhaps most notably Jesse Lingard, who has a fantastic record against the Foxes. In 10 games against Leicester, the midfielder has 3 assists and 5 goals to his name, most recently netting a brace while at West Ham in 2021.
There certainly is some misconceptions around the signings in terms of just the volume of them. Coming out of Wembley, that team lost 5 lone players, the goalkeeper left, the captain Lewis Graben left. The core of the team was ripped out, and the squad that came up without any signings was basically 6 or 7 players in the youth team, so there needed to be a major reconstruction. I think everyone expected kind of double-figure signings. I would say no one would have expected 22. We can't say they did, and some of the signings you feel might be a step too far, but there certainly needs to be an overhaul. And I don't think Forest fans expected the quality of players on paper that have come in. So obviously there was a lot of fanfare around Jesse Lingard. Emmanuel Dennis had a good season last season.
Ewan, what do you make of Nottingham Forest and the start that they've had there? We heard obviously it was a fairly decent start, but then two really disappointing results against those newly promoted sides fairly recently.
Yeah, and I think especially the one against Bournemouth as well, where they put themselves in a great position. They were winning the game 2-0, and then they conceded 3 goals. And we've spoken about the problems that Leicester have had in their own penalty box. Well, Forest have got a problem in both penalty boxes. They've got the 3rd worst defensive record in the Premier League, and only Wolves and West Ham have scored less goals than Forest. So not only do they leak goals, but they're not really scoring enough goals as well. And when you've got problems in both boxes, you're in big trouble. The loss against Fulham would have hurt them. They went to the Etihad, and I know Man City put 6 against their bitter rivals United yesterday. Man City scored 6 against Nottingham Forest. It was always going to take time, I think, with the fact that Steve Cooper, who I think has done a magnificent job at Nottingham Forest. When he took over, they had 1 point from their opening 7 games last season. So finish where they did and win promotion and get back into the Premier League after so many years. I think he deserves a bit of time. Brought a lot of players in, as was said then. I mean, they lost 15 in the summer, so he had to sort of build another team, another squad. That's what he's done. It does take time. And I think at the start of the season, had you offered any Nottingham Forest fan 17th in the Premier League in May, I think they would have slapped your hand off.
And because of the start, I guess this game is equally as big for them as it is for Leicester this evening.
Yeah, especially looking at the last 4 results, 4 defeats, at home being 2-0 up, losing 3-2, Man City 6-0, 3-2 Bournemouth, 3-2 Fulham, as we said. So the negative results, so they're like lacking confidence as well. So this is just as important game it is for Forest as it is for Leicester. I think Leicester it is more important for Leicester just because of the calibre of the players and what Leicester have achieved in the past couple of years. And but as you said, it's 2 struggling teams going head to head, and it's all about who wants it more, I think.
We're hoping that the atmosphere obviously is building up inside the bowl at King Power Stadium. I believe we've got Matt Elliott on co-commentary duty this evening, who is sat in the stadium right now. Matt, what is the atmosphere like? Is it building in there?
Yeah, slowly. Crowd's nowhere near full just yet, but of course we've got a good 20 minutes or so. But I think come kick-off time, that will be the case. But yeah, you can feel the tension a little bit though. Just coming up to the ground earlier, a couple of hours or so ago, it was hustling and bustling, and people know that this is a big fixture. It would be, even in ordinary situation. Just the fact that the rivalry between Leicester and Nottingham Forest that hasn't been there for such a long time in the Premier League has all of a sudden arrived. So there's that extra spark to it, but of course with the predicament that both teams are, that brings that extra edge, doesn't it? And you can sense it. You can sense that the players, the supporters, and everyone around the ground know what a big occasion it is tonight.
What do you make of the team, Matt? David Nugent was saying potentially on paper this is possibly as strong as Leicester can be.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think it's strange, really, isn't it? You talk about Leicester having a sizable squad, but at the same time there's sort of still questions about the depth of it in terms of real quality. The team pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? Bar 1 or 2 spots, as David mentioned. Castagna, but Ricardo's not available, or Justin, whichever. I think 9 people out of 10 pick that team, don't they, to start this game. I suppose a little bit of a worry is how many people off the bench would you bring on and expect to make an impact in that system. Perhaps the likes of, you look at it and you may be only 1 or 2 injuries to key players away from having to change the formation really to suit the players that are coming in, but that's problems maybe down the line. Leicester have got enough problems at the moment, but that as yourself and David have mentioned, and Ewan, that's a strong team. It's a good lineup. They just, in my view, I think they need to go against perhaps the natural grain of how the players play, or certainly how Brendan Rodgers would ordinarily want them to play. Just secure things up a little bit. The last thing they want to do tonight is, for example, it's been mentioned a few times, both the fullbacks have been flying forward. Now, when Leicester are rampant and playing well, it's a wonderful sight to see, and they've effectively got 7 attacking players when indeed he's holding the midfield and being secure. But if things aren't going your way, I think just rein it in a little bit maybe. Certainly one fullback forward, the other one sits, it used to be the way, or sometimes even both of them sit and let the other boys go and do the business, because you can't afford to get hit on the counter tonight, with an attack out of nowhere from Nottingham Forest and concede one, possibly more, then it is a situation. So I just think they've got to be a little bit more secure about how they play, less adventurous, dare I say. And again, as we've mentioned, it doesn't matter about the quality of performance, it matters about the result.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. We'll hear from you in around about 10 minutes as you're on co-commentary duty alongside John Dunn. We've heard from Steve Cooper, the Nottingham Forest manager. Let's hear, of course, then from Brendan Rodgers. He's looking to use the experience of losing 4-1 to Forest last season in the FA Cup to gain revenge on them this season.
It was a challenging day. We didn't perform. We actually started the game okay, in terms of our fluidity, but we didn't defend well enough and strong enough. That's the reality. We were just nowhere near the level that's required to win the game. So yeah, it was a very, very disappointing performance. But now we have an opportunity to get the result that we would want in the first game of a Leicester Nottingham Forest game for a number of years. So it's a game that we're all looking forward to. And as I said, that game is gone, and we now got to really look to take the game and bring a real attitude and energy in the stadium to get the points.
Now they do have that experience, and it is very much the same kind of group of players now. How important will that be heading into this game, when perhaps, especially when you consider form and the table as well, it might even be a little bit more important?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt at this stage. Every game is important. It's especially when you're searching for that first win. But I think the experience of the last game will let everyone feel the importance of the tie. It was we didn't do anywhere near enough to win the game, or have that desire and passion that you need to win the game. So, but this is a totally different game. It's a new season. The players will be ready for it, and they'll look to get the result that we want.
You mentioned already about a sense of maybe owing the fans for that day. Is that a conversation that has to be had, or is it something that's just kind of collectively known and doesn't really need to be spoken about?
No, we'll speak about that more closer to the game. But there's no doubt we want to obviously do it for our team and for the points, but ultimately you're playing for your supporters. So and on that day we didn't do them justice at all. They gave us great backing, great support. They were there in the thousands, and we didn't turn up. So for this game, we will be ready for that, and I'm sure the crowd will be ready as well. So that connection and that synergy between the two will hopefully provide a brilliant atmosphere and allow us to play our football.
Final one, Brendan, but you've been involved in some massive derby games in your managerial career. But in terms of significance and maybe the kind of storm that's brewing around this one, how big does this feel for you on a personal level?
No, listen, they're all big games, and any derby game, having been involved in the ones I have, they're always very, very important. But yeah, no, this one feels, significant because of our position and what's gone before it. So I'm really hoping that we can look to go and perform and get the win, which I think will be a huge shot of confidence for the players. Because, like I say, we should have won up until now, but the reality is we haven't. So now we have a great chance in a local derby game at home to go and collect the first 3 points, and it won't be easy. But that's our challenge, to go and embrace that and go and show the qualities and just try to consistently do it over the course of a game rather than 60 minutes or 70 minutes and get the job done.
That was Brendan Rodgers there speaking ahead of the game this evening. We've pretty much run out of time here on Matchday Live. We don't have very long left. So Ewan Roberts, just a very quick score prediction, please, from you. How do you see it going this evening?
Massive game, massive occasion, Dan. I'm going to go 3-0 Leicester City.
I was going to say exactly the same, Ewan. 3-0, Madison 2, Vardy 1. There we go, we'll take it.
Well, let's hope that
3 goals,
you're
3
both
points.
right. Yeah, it's a huge game here under the lights at King Power Stadium. And after a 23-year wait, these two famous foes go to battle again in the Premier League.
"40 games won, 40 games lost. The pride of the East Midlands is at stake once more, as old foes prepare to clash in the Premier League for the first time in 23 years. Once the Kings of England, it's now time to meet again in top flight. Past matches evoke memories of joy and adulation, last-minute winners and decisive goals. Anthony Knockaert at the City Ground, Tommy White at King Power Stadium. Icons have come and gone, some on both sides, but the rivalry remains. Clough, O'Neill, Shilton, Morgan, all names that are etched into the tapestry of this fixture. New heroes will now emerge when the Foxes do battle with the Reds. The stage is set under the lights on Filbert Way. It's time.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamiat is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Lamiat philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Good evening and welcome to King Power Stadium, a stadium full of nerves, of hope, of anguish and expectation. It's been a 2-week wait due to the latest international break for Premier League action to return, but this is a top-flight East Midlands derby that City and Forest fans have waited 23 years for. May 1999, the last top-flight meeting between these two. That was at the City Ground. The last one on Leicester soil was December 98, a 3-1 win for City, with goals from Heskey, Guppy, and the man alongside me, Matthew Elliott. Do the memories come flooding back?
Didn't have to wait long for you to mention that, Danny.
Is the £10 on the way? Come on,
well,
Matt.
if you didn't, I was going to anyway. So, yeah, slightly hazy and fuzzy memories, but I do remember smashing that penalty in. But a similar result tonight would be more than welcome, so wouldn't it?
Were you a regular on penalties back there? I'm trying to cast my mind
Yeah,
back.
I think I took at least 2 on the trot, I think, but no, I think
Does that mean you missed the second?
Yeah, I think I did. From memory, against Coventry in the FA Cup, I think, that Gary Parker was on the bench that night, that game, and I think basically it was who stood up first, basically. You would think Muzzy would take them ordinarily. I don't think he fancied them at the time. Anyway, I stepped up and smashed it, basically, and hoped for the best a little bit. But it looked good. It looked good at the time. The second one didn't when it went past the post and tried to be clever against Coventry. After that, Muzzy started taking them more regularly.
And I suppose back then, in 1998, it was called the Premiership back then. You probably didn't think that would be the last time that Leicester and Forest would meet in a top flight game, but here we are 20 odd years later, and we're back in action. Different stadium across the way, but it's huge tonight in so many ways. Local bragging rights, but 3 points, 3 huge points up for grabs this evening.
Yeah, strange but true, isn't it? You know, who'd have thought that would be the case that far down the line? Here we are 24 years later. The next Premier League fixture between these two teams. It's certainly a big one. I wouldn't say it was necessarily worth the wait, because certainly from Forest's point of view, they wouldn't have wanted to wait this long. But yeah, a lot has happened in between, and you get a feeling that a lot's going to happen tonight.
Certainly looking for positives from the negatives in terms of potential goals this evening, because both sides have conceded 12 goals in the last 3 games. They both scored 4 goals in their last 3 games. It's got 0-0 written all over it.
Well, listen, never say never, but that seems highly unlikely, doesn't it, prior to kick-off? There you go, the atmosphere properly building up, pyrotechnics everywhere, the stands are filling up, as you would expect. Going to sell out, I believe, for quite a while, understandably so, but yeah, I just feel, I don't know, both sets of supporters are on edge, aren't they? Both the players will be on edge, and you feel like it's going to be packed full of incident, if not quality. There is plenty of quality out there on the pitch for both teams, but and probably plenty of goals, a number of goals you would imagine to follow. But it'll be something to keep an eye on, and we're lucky enough to do so.
You mentioned to Dan pre-match about that kind of sense of, I don't know, nerves, I suppose, walking into the stadium, and you will have felt it over the weekend talking to Leicester fans and reading what's going on. You touched on it there, the players, what will they be like in the changing room? They'll know the enormity of the task, they'll know the enormity of the expectation from this crowd. Can you reflect back on your time and how different players reacted in different ways to such a big game?
Yeah, each individual's, different, aren't they? And sometimes on different occasions you react in a different way, as an individual. But I think, the more you get sort of honed into dealing with the big occasion, and Leicester have plenty of them, the better you're served, aren't you? It's all part of being experienced, etc. And I think certainly I was, from my own point of view, I was more adept in the latter stages of my career at dealing with this sort of scenario or a big game feel than I was in my younger years. I used to, perhaps, as they say, not let the game pass you by, but you didn't necessarily think, well, I'm going to be the one to go and grab the game by the throat. Difficult to do as a centre-half, to be fair. But, yeah, big game players are worth their weight in gold, aren't they? And Leicester have got the likes of Jamie Vardy, Tillemans, who's been an FA Cup goal-scoring hero, numerous others dotted around the pitch. Forest also have their match winners, so you do look for that. But I think each player's got to stand up, be counted, go out there and be ready to be the key influence. Really, don't let others do the real essential work for you, and that's got to be done collectively. And who knows, on the day you may just be the hero, but it's about the togetherness, the group ethic, isn't it? And they've got to knuckle down with each other, got to be strong characters tonight.
You may have seen on social media in the build-up to this one, Union FS, the fans group, been talking about one of the huge banners they were going to open up tonight. Well, it's just about to be opened up in front of the Kop end to our right side. There is a sign, a long banner, almost filling the 18-yard area from left to right, the world-famous city. And then opening up is I suppose a cartoon image, and it looks as though it's going to be Wes Morgan lifting the Premier League trophy, a former Nottingham Forest player, 10 years there, 10 years with Leicester City, and in those 10 years probably the most successful period of this club's history, and that has been opened up in front of the big screen that's got the steely blue eyes of the fox staring down on the pitch as the Leicester fans burst into song. Wesley Morgan is a blue. The fireworks on the far side in front of the east stands, they fire into the air, warming up everybody on that side of the field. Philbert the Fox wandering towards the centre circle with Leicester flags being waved from one side to the other, either side of that centre circle, as the players start to gather inside the tunnel area. The Forest manager Steve Cooper did wander out before the two sets of players, applauded the Forest fans over in the corner, and then he has taken his seat as the teams enter the field. A top flight derby, 23 years in the making, with so much riding on it. Leicester City and Nottingham Forest sit side by side at the foot of the Premier League table, separated by 3 points. The 3 points tonight will mean so much more than local bragging rights, as both of these sides look to kick-start their seasons. Meeting number 108 between these two old foes. It's only the 7th in the Premier League between these two East Midlands rivals. It's the first in the top flight since May 1999. This one has so much at stake at a King Power Stadium that is full to the rafters, and the supporters are waiting for the action to unfold in front of us on this Monday evening. Leicester then last in action over 2 weeks ago, beaten in North London by Spurs. Brendan Rodgers making just one change to that 11, with Jamie Vardy replacing Patson Daka. Other than that, it's unchanged, with Ward in goal, Castagna, Evans, Fass and Justin in the defence. Dewsbury Hall and Didi and Tillemans in midfield. Maddison and Barnes either side of Vardy. Nottingham Forest defeated 3-2 at home to Fulham before the break came. Out go Bolly, Yates and Frula, as Steve Cooper makes 3 changes. In come O'Brien, Kouate and Lingard. Cooper switching from a back 3 to a back 4. It's Henderson in goal, Williams, Cook, McKenna and Loddy is the defence. O'Brien and Kouate sitting in front of that back 4. Lingard, Gibbs White and Johnson supporting Anoni up front. Well, you can hear the atmosphere crackling already here inside King Power Stadium, and how important that are the supporters tonight, particularly in the early stages, to try and feed some confidence into these Leicester players.
Yeah, not just the early stages, throughout the entirety of the game. I think, John, you've heard little rumblings before the game about saying, things are not going well for Leicester, and the crowd may turn after 20-25 minutes, and you don't want to be witnessing anything like that. You've got to stick with the players throughout the whole game, and I'm sure they will do. Let the supporters know as well as anyone, what a vital game this is. It's not do or die, but at this stage of the season, it's hugely important, isn't it? Leicester need to get off the foot of the table, need to get a little bit of form going, need to get a run and pick up some points. But that's achievable. You try and look at it from a level-headed point of view. Yes, there are things to address. But the game's coming up. They could quite conceivably do well in 3 or 4 of them. And look at the quality on the pitch here. I'm not trying to be naively positive there. There are things to watch out from this Forest team as well. They've got abilities themselves. But you talk about the atmosphere. They're singing this song and you're smiling here. It rouses the supporters, doesn't it? And in turn it will rouse the players, and we'll see that evidence hopefully in their performance.
One last roar. The Forest players to the left of the centre circle, go into a huddle. The Leicester players to the right start to take up their positions, including Matt, the only change, Jamie Vardy returning. Feels like his kind of night. You know, the Forest fans will probably give him some stick, and that might just spur him on to strike the goals that could take Leicester to victory.
Yeah, hopefully they do, because it normally works in a beneficial way for Leicester, doesn't it? But yeah, listen, one change, bringing Jamie Vardy back in is always a good sign, and who knows? You wouldn't back against it being his night, would you?
Leicester all in blue to the chorus of Leicester City fans getting behind their side. A first touch on his home debut for Wout Vass, playing the ball forward towards Vardy, but an interception as it comes into the centre circle, and Maddison wins it from O'Brien and finds Vardy 35 yards out, nearly threaded the ball through to Barnes. It's deflected to Dewsbury Hall, the local lad, striking early, striking almost from the corner of the penalty area, but he caught it with the outside of his left boot, and it's flown wide and high of Dean Henderson's goal, but no doubt there was early intent in the Leicester play.
Yeah, good pressure from Leicester initially, as you say, making a little statement there. And talking about them being a bit more secure defensively, but that's for the back four, and Wilfred and Ndidi maybe to sort out, but there's certainly plenty of adventure there, and enterprise from the midfield. Ndidi closing down, ball coming to Vardy, Maddison was in support, Barnes was up there, ultimately Dewsbury Hall was, and I think he made the right option there. It was difficult. You might have thought he'd put the ball in the box, but it was only Vardy at the back stick against 4 Forest defenders. Tried to strike, got it wrong, but it was an attempt towards goal.
First corner of the evening after 1 minute and 13 seconds has gone the way of the visitors in red shirts and white shorts, kicking towards the Kop end. And it's on this right-hand side. Morgan Gibbs-White, one of the many summer recruits, will take. It will be an out-swinger. The defenders have gone forward, McKenna and Cook. Brennan Johnson has made his way close to Danny Ward, so too has Taiwo Awoni. And it's Gibbs-White's corner. It's flicked away by Ndidi inside the 6-yard area. Lewis O'Brien, edge of the box. His shot deflected off Johnny Evans on the 18-yard line. Evans and Danny Ward leading the remonstrations with the referee, looking for a decision there. It's going to be another Nottingham Forest corner on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah, Danny Ward claiming a foul by, I'm not sure exactly who it was, Brennan Johnson, I think, just sort of stuck his hip out and caused Ward to go to his knees. Could be a problem, but the referee will be having a look out. There's definitely an air of apprehension with Leicester defending these corners early on.
This time an in-swinger from Gibbs-White. Dewsbury Hall at the near post. It's a header into the air. It's an overhead kick from Steve Cook, and as it goes back into the penalty area, an offside flag is raised, and Leicester survive 2 early set pieces, but it has been the frantic start that we expected.
Yeah, the 2 set pieces coming in, decent enough deliveries there, and well attacked on both occasions by Leicester defenders. I think it was Ndidi first and then Dewsbury Hall the second. There was an element of desperation about it. There were I can't knock it, a real willingness to go and attack the ball, even if it wasn't necessarily their ball to head.
Barnes and Dewsbury Hall linking up down the left. Vardy was offside as he thought he'd won the first Leicester corner of the evening off Steve Cook, but it was a great ball by Harvey Barnes, instant control, and knew that Dewsbury Hall would be making the run in behind down the left. Thought initially Dewsbury Hall had run out of options, but Vardy gave him that option. However, roamed into an offside position. Still looking for his first goal of the season. Jamie Vardy scored 17 last season in the top flight.
Yeah, people saying, oh, is Vardy on the decline? They've been saying that for a number of years, and he's proved people wrong. It's impossible, not the speed merchant absolute that he was 4 or 5 years ago. Mind you, he's on the move here.
Maddison will look for Vardy down the left-hand side. The ball just slightly away from him. There was a groan from the crowd, but Vardy will get there and feeds it to Barnes on the edge of the box, and it slid across the 18-yard area. Yuri Tillemans. O'Brien got the slightest of touch and meant that Tillemans couldn't quite get the shot away. It's gone back towards the halfway line, but Evans will move the ball back to the right, where Tillemans has moved into position. Infield to James Maddison, midway inside the Forest half. James just in under pressure from